The original base. The so-called hidden foot. Karma-vibhaṅga. The analysis of deeds. Part 6, Final. Cross-section of the Borobudur Temple. Locations of the panels. The location of the original case, the so-called hidden foot. The Karma-vibhaṅga panels. The so-called hidden foot of Borobudur refers to the monument's base level, also known as the Karma-vibhaṅga panels, which depict scenes illustrating the law of karma, how actions lead to specific outcomes. This level was intentionally covered shortly after construction, likely as an engineering solution to strengthen the structure and prevent collapse. Fully uncovering the hidden foot today would endanger the temple's stability, as the encasing stonework is essential to reinforcing the base. In 1890, the base was temporarily disassembled, and Casijan Chepas photographed the panels. These photographs are now displayed in Borobudur Museum, located just north of the temple. After restoration, the base was reinstalled, covering the panels again. Today, only a portion of the southeast corner remains visible to visitors. Karma-vibhaṅga. The deeds and their results. The Karma-vibhaṅga panels at Borobudur offer a rich narrative on the law of karma, demonstrating how good and bad actions shape future outcomes. The panels are divided into 5 key sections, each highlighting specific aspects of karma's workings. Here are the 5 key sections. Health and wealth. Rebirth. Permutations. Unwholesome deeds. Wholesome deeds. Part 6 is dedicated to the section Wholesome Deeds. Wholesome Deeds. The section illustrates a variety of virtuous actions that lead to positive outcomes such as happiness, respect, longevity, and prosperity. These deeds include acts of generosity and kindness, such as feeding the hungry, saving animals, and showing compassion. Specific examples highlighted in the panels include saluting Caityas, offering umbrellas, temple bells, clothes, vessels, banners, food, vehicles, drinks, sandals, loose flowers, garlands, incense, lights, seats, and refuge. Additionally, the section portrays the significance of spiritual practices, such as renunciation, going forth, living in the wilderness, subsisting on alms food, and embodying the 10 confidences. These virtuous actions are depicted as leading to high status, respect, or rebirth in favorable circumstances, emphasizing the transformative power of wholesome deeds. Variations in text and themes of rebirth depictions. The final section is depicted in the last 35 panels on Borobudur's hidden base. These include additional deeds not present in the Sanskrit text as received, and the sequence of deeds differs significantly, suggesting the sculptors were working from a text that varied more in this section than in any other. While a variety of outcomes are described, the illustrations consistently favor depicting to specific positive results: rebirth in a wealthy family and rebirth in heaven. These themes appear repeatedly, reflecting the enduring preference of the sculptors and their directors for these prosperous outcomes. Saluting Caityas in the Middle Country. What are the 10 advantages of saluting with reverence the memorial buildings of the realized one in the Middle Country, the 4 great memorial buildings in Lumbini, Mahabodhi, and so on? It is said: 1. One obtains a berth in the Middle Country. 2. One obtains excellent clothes. 3. One obtains an excellent family. 4. One obtains an excellent age. 5. One obtains an excellent voice. 6. One obtains excellent intelligence. 7. One obtains excellent faith. 8. One obtains excellent virtue. 9. One obtains excellent fame. 10. One obtains excellent generosity. 11. One obtains an excellent memory. 12. One obtains excellent wisdom. Saluting Caityas elsewhere. What are the 10 advantages of worshipping the memorial buildings of the realized one somewhere else? It is said: 1. One becomes handsome. 2. Has a good voice. 3. Has acceptable speech. 4. Walking into an assembly, one propitiates the assembly. 5. One is dear to gods and men. 6. One is distinguished. 7. One has the society of distinguished people. 8. One has the society of Buddhas and the Buddha's disciples. 9. One has great wealth. 10. One is reborn in the heavens. 11. One quickly attains final nirvana. At the start of the panels, 10 deeds were depicted as yielding a similar result. In contrast, this section illustrates a single good deed producing a variety of outcomes. Typically, the deed is portrayed just once, while its diverse results are spread across multiple panels. Panel 124. By worshipping the memorial buildings, one becomes handsome. The inscription on the right, above the temple, translates to the worship of a Caitya, or religious edifice. It aligns perfectly with the depicted scene. While it is unclear whether the worship takes place in the middle country or elsewhere, the outcome portrayed suggests the latter. Above the result, to the left, the inscription translates to golden complexion. The closest equivalent in the Sanskrit text is the attribute of being handsome, as exemplified by the prominently depicted main figure on the left. Panel 125. One gains a good voice and good company. The inscription translates to good voice. This concept is challenging to depict, so the sculptors portray a man in a pavilion surrounded by consorts, enjoying music. Without the inscription, the meaning would not be immediately clear. The inscription on the left translates to meeting with one of great might. This inscription closely aligns with the idea of having the society of distinguished people, as described in the text. Panel 126. One has wealth and is reborn in heaven. On the right, the inscription translates to a wealthy man. This aligns with the depiction, where a man is shown sitting with all the typical signs of wealth and comfort. The inscription on the left translates to heaven, which is one of the results of worshipping memorial buildings. The location is indicated, as usual, by the wish-fulfilling tree in the presence of kinnaras. Giving a parasol. What are the 10 advantages of giving a parasol? It is said, 1. One has the nature of being a parasol for the world. 2. One is not overheated in body. 3. One is not overheated in mind. 4. All deeds done that are blameless and lead to sovereignty accumulate. 5. Again and again one becomes a universal monarch. 6. One is distinguished. 7. One has the society of distinguished people. 8. One has the society of Buddhas and Buddha's disciples. 9. One has great wealth. 10. One is reborn in the heavens. 11. One quickly attains final nirvana. Panel 127. By giving a parasol, one is not overheated in body and mind. The inscription on the right translates to the giving of parasols, as depicted below. Additional offerings are shown, highlighting how, without the inscription, the scene might simply be interpreted as general acts of giving. The inscription on the left translates to not having an overheated body or mind. We may not have guessed it though from the panel itself, as it looks more like a scene of great wealth. Panel 128. One has the society of distinguished people. This panel unusually depicts a single result of the good deed of giving a parasol, as indicated by the inscription, which translates to meetings with distinguished people. A grand pavilion features 2 wealthy men and their consorts enjoying each other's company amidst abundant signs of prosperity. On the far right and left, additional figures are seated outdoors under the trees. Panel 129. One becomes a universal monarch. Even without the inscription which translates to universal monarch, the panel itself conveys this, through the depiction of the elephant, jewel, horse, and wheel on the right. The hallowed lady represents the queen, although the minister and treasurer appear absent. On the left, the parasol is prominently displayed, along with typical symbols of prosperity, such as fruit-laden trees, bags of money, and numerous attendants. Panel 130. Rebirth in Heaven. The inscription translates to heaven, and the scene spans the entire panel. On the left stands one of the most intricate wish-fulfilling trees depicted at Borobudur, surrounded by kinars and numerous money bags. The central figure, though partially erased and incomplete, is seated on a throne alongside his consort. To the right and left are the customary attendants, including a Brahmin positioned at the bottom right, giving a temple bell. What are the 10 advantages of giving a temple bell? It is said: 1. One becomes handsome. 2. One has a good voice. 3. One has pleasing speech. 4. One has speech like a cuckoo. 5. One has acceptable speech. 6. One always has causes for joy. 7. Again and again one hears sounds that are joyous. 8. One is reborn in the heavens. 9. One has great wealth. 10. One quickly attains final nirvana. Panel 131. By giving a bell one has the society of the distinguished. The inscription on the right translates to a bell, which is precisely what is depicted below. 5 individuals are gathered, presenting a bell and other offerings at a religious structure. The inscription on the left translates to meeting with the distinguished. While this outcome is not explicitly mentioned in the Sanskrit text or any known parallels, it has been referenced earlier as a result of virtuous deeds. Panel 132. A universal monarch. The central inscription translates to universal monarch. Even without it, the result is easily identifiable through the depiction of the horse, elephant, wheel, jewel, and woman. However, this outcome is not listed as a result of this deed in any known texts. The monarch is seated in a pavilion alongside 3 consorts, with the woman jewel positioned to the left of center. Other symbols of kingship, including the parasol and the peacock feather fan, are prominently displayed. Nearby, attendants and visitors sit, ready to serve. Panel 133. Pleasing speech and knowledge of former lives. No inscription accompanies the scene on the right, leaving its exact meaning uncertain. It might represent some form of pleasing speech, but given its resemblance to panel 131, it could alternatively depict another meeting with distinguished people. On the left, an inscription is present, translating to deep knowledge of former lives. Panel 134. Great wealth and rebirth in heaven. Above the panel on the right, the inscription translates to one possessing wealth, which aligns perfectly with the depiction below, featuring the customary symbols of prosperity. The inscription above the left scene translates to heaven. While the panel includes a grand expansive tree, it differs from other heavenly scenes where kinars are positioned near the tree. Instead, the central figures sit beneath it, making the identification as heaven less obvious without the guiding inscription. Giving clothes. What are the 10 virtues of giving clothes? It is said: 1. One has soft skin. 2. One has smooth skin. 3. Dust does not stick to the cloth or his body. 4. One is endowed with conscience and shame. 5. One is pleasant looking. 6. One has abundant clothing. 7. One receives clothes and spreadings that are delicate. 8. One has great wealth. 9. One is reborn in the heavens. 10. One quickly attains final nirvana. Panel 135. By giving clothes one becomes handsome. The inscription on the right translates to giving clothes. A Brahmin is seated beneath a tree with a devotee kneeling at his feet. The left side of the panel remains only partially carved, and while we cannot be certain how this would have been illustrated, the inscription translates to handsome, synonymous with pleasant looking. Panel 136. Great wealth. This panel illustrates another result of giving clothes. He has great wealth. While there is no inscription present, the depiction of a typical wealthy man makes the intent unmistakable. Some sections of the panel remain incomplete, likely awaiting the tree carver to finish work elsewhere. As with all Karma-vibhaṅga panels, the composition maintains a remarkable sense of balance. Panel 137. Reborn in heaven. The inscription translates to heaven, affirming what is visually evident: he is reborn in heaven. The wish-fulfilling trees on the far left and right, accompanied by kinars, already convey this notion. At the center, the main figure is seated within a celestial palace alongside 3 consorts, while the customary group of attendants stands ready to serve him. Giving vessels. What are the 10 advantages of giving vessels? It is said: 1. One becomes a vessel for the Dharma. 2. One's virtues are smooth and uninterrupted. 3. One does not have great thirst. 4. When suffering from thirst, water appears. 5. One is not reborn amongst the pretas. 6. One has a sufficiency of containers. 7. One has great wealth. 8. One is reborn in the heavens. 9. One quickly attains final nirvana. Panel 138. By giving vessels one becomes a vessel for Dharma. The inscription above the cause on the right translates to gift, aligning with the depiction of vessels being offered below. Without this guidance, one might have interpreted the gift as referring to the contents of the vessels. On the left, a longer inscription translates to, he is a vessel for the wholesome Dharma. This implies that, in his new life, he has become a monk, imparting the Dharma to those who sit before him in reverence, listening to his teachings. Panel 139. Great wealth. An inscription is present, though its text is unclear. It may translate to, wealthy man. Regardless, the scene appears to represent the result of having great wealth. The panel features an exceptional array of attendants, showcasing the Borobudur sculptor's remarkable skill in crafting such compositions. The central figure is accompanied by 4 consorts and numerous money bags placed beneath his couch. Panel 140. Reborn in heaven. The inscription translates to heaven. On the right, the man, accompanied by his 4 consorts and numerous money bags, closely resembles the depiction in the previous panel. It is uncertain whether the panel portrays one continuous scene or 2 distinct ones. On the left, a wealthy individual stands before a temple receiving offerings, while his wife, positioned at the center, holds an oversized lotus. Panel 141. Giving banners. The gift of banners, absent from the current Sanskrit texts, does appear in the Chinese translations. Since the inscription clearly identifies the offering, its meaning is certain. The inscription translates to banners. 3 men sit before a finely detailed temple, presenting banners as offerings, while supporters stand behind them. To the left, 4 additional figures sit beneath a tree, also making offerings, though the nature of their gifts is unclear. Panel 142. Great wealth. The result of giving banners is depicted in this panel. The inscription translates to great wealth, illustrated by the familiar scene of a man seated with his 4 consorts and bags of money. On both sides, his attendants stand ready to serve him, further emphasizing his wealth and luxurious lifestyle. Panel 143. Reborn in heaven. Though there is no inscription, the presence of the wish-fulfilling tree and the Caityas makes it clear that this scene is set in heaven. A content and somewhat plump man sits with his consorts, one arm around one and the other across the front of another. Surrounding him are various signs of wealth. Giving food. What are the 10 advantages of giving food? It is said, 1. One becomes strong. 2. One becomes beautiful. 3. One becomes happy. 4. One becomes intelligent. 5. One has long life. 6. One is visited by the populace. 7. One is pleasant looking. 8. One has great wealth. 9. One is reborn in the heavens. 10. One quickly attains final nirvana. Panel 144. By giving food one becomes handsome. The inscription above the right side of the panel translates to food, which helps us identify the gifts as food and drinks. On the left, the result is depicted. While wealth may be shown elsewhere, this scene likely represents one becomes handsome, though it could also be one becomes happy. Panel 145. One is visited by the populace. Without an inscription and with the central figures badly damaged, it's difficult to determine the exact scene depicted in this panel. However, given that many characters are seated at the same level, it could represent one is visited by the populace. The panel shows 4 distinct trees, and on the far left and right, we see the typical female attendants. Panel 146. Great wealth. Once again, there is no inscription, but based on similar panels, it seems evident that the scene portrays someone reborn into wealth, enjoying his newfound prosperity. He is seated within a pavilion alongside 3 consorts, surrounded by attendants and visitors. Beneath the pavilion, symbols of his wealth are present, though they appear rather simple and possibly unfinished. Panel 147. Reborn in heaven. The sculptors displayed remarkable consistency, skillfully recreating similar scenes without losing their artistry. An inscription translating to heaven confirms the setting, which is already evident from the presence of the wish-fulfilling tree and Caityas. On the left, a beautiful lotus pond is depicted with 3 trees rising behind it. At the center stands a temple, as a man seemingly guiding his consorts by the hand approaches it. Giving vehicles. What are the 10 virtues of giving vehicles? It is said, 1. One has tender feet. 2. One stands firm on his feet. 3. One doesn't get exhausted on the road. 4. One doesn't have many enemies. 5. Again and again one attains the basis of success. 6. One has a sufficiency of vehicles, elephants and horses and so on. 7. One has great wealth. 8. One is reborn in the heavens. 9. One quickly attains final nirvana. Giving drinks. What are the 10 virtues of giving drinks? It is said, 1. One is endowed with all the faculties. 2. Has a clear face. 3. A pure forehead. 4. Smooth skin. 5. One has agreeable speech. 6. One is never greatly thirsty. 7. When one is thirsty water appears. 8. One is not reborn amongst the pretas. 9. One has great wealth. 10. One is reborn in the heavens. 11. One quickly attains final nirvana. Panel 148. By giving drinks one has great wealth. On the right, 2 sage-like figures sit elevated on a pedestal as devotees approach to offer them drinks. The inscription translates to drinks. On the left, the typical result is depicted. A wealthy man seated among elegant consorts, attended by numerous servants. Some parts of the scene remain unfinished. Panel 149. Reborn in Heaven. The most frequently depicted rewards for giving are great wealth and rebirth in heaven, and this panel once again presents a heavenly scene. On the far left, the wish-fulfilling tree, kinnaras, and money bags are prominently featured. In front of them, a music and dance performance takes place, entertaining the virtuous man seated in a relaxed posture alongside two of his consorts near his celestial palace. Giving sandals. This is another donation that is not recorded in the Sanskrit text, but the inscription makes it clear that this was one of the gifts included in the text before the builders at Borobudur. Panel 150. By giving sandals one has enough vehicles. On the right, a group of people approaches to offer sandals to two dignified sages seated inside a pavilion. The inscription translates to sandals. The outcome depicted on the left is an abundance of vehicles. The central figure is carried on a litter, accompanied by a horse and an elephant. The inscription confirms this, translating to a sufficiency of vehicles. Panel 151. Great wealth. Two unfinished sections include a tree on the left and a celestial palace on the right. The tree does not resemble a wish-fulfilling tree, so it seems more likely that this scene depicts great wealth. As usual, a man sits with his consorts, one of whom is unusually styling her hair. Near the heavenly mansion, an attendant plays a lute, while guards sit beneath the dais watching over his wealth. Others stand and sit under the tree. Giving loose flowers. What are the 10 virtues of giving loose flowers? It is said, 1. One becomes like a flower to the world. 2. The faculty of smell is purified. 3. Bad odor of the body disappears. 4. Good odor appears. 5. The sweet fame of one's virtue blows in all 10 directions. 6. One is sought out by others. 7. One receives all desirable things. 8. One has great wealth. 9. One is reborn in the heavens. 10. One quickly attains final nirvana. Panel 152. By giving loose flowers one is reborn in heaven. The act of giving loose flowers follows the giving of garlands in the Sanskrit text, suggesting that the sculptors were familiar with a variety of versions. Towards the end of the text, the scene is straightforward. On the right, two men approach with loose flowers on a dish and present them at a temple. The inscription translates to gift of flowers. On the left, the inscription translates to heaven. Without it, we might have interpreted the scene as depicting rebirth into a family of great wealth. The main character is shown with two consorts, bags of riches, and attendants. Giving garlands. What are the 10 virtues of giving garlands? It is said, 1. One becomes like a garland to the world. 2. Bad odor of the body disappears. 3. Good odor appears. 4. There is always a pleasant smell and ornaments. 5. One's following is undivided. 6. One is dear to all people. 7. One has great wealth. 8. One is reborn in the heavens. 9. One quickly attains final nirvana. Panel 153. By giving garlands one has great wealth. An inscription translating to incense seems to be present on this panel, though it is not clearly visible. If correctly identified, it appears to be misplaced, as the gift shown is garlands being offered to Brahmins. The outcome is depicted in two scenes, at the center and on the left. The first illustrates great wealth in the typical manner, featuring 3 consorts, bags of money, and attendants. Once again, though not clearly visible, an inscription above the scene on the far left is said to translate to heaven. Giving incense. What are the 10 virtues of giving incense? It is said, 1. One becomes like incense to the world. 2. One's faculty of smell is purified. 3. Bad odor of the body disappears. 4. Good odor appears. 5. The sweet fame of one's virtue blows in all 10 directions. 6. One is sought out by others. 7. One receives all desirable things. 8. One has great wealth. 9. One is reborn in the heavens. 10. One quickly attains final nirvana. Panel 154. By giving incense, one has great wealth. The offering of incense depicted here, and the giving of garlands shown earlier appear in reverse order compared to the Sanskrit text. Once again, the inscription seems displaced, as it translates to a gift of garlands. On the right, the presentation of what is likely incense is shown. In the center, an inscription translating to a wealthy person is accompanied by the typical symbols of prosperity. On the far left, the inscription reads heaven, which corresponds with the imagery presented. Giving lights. What are the 10 virtues of giving lights? It is said, 1. One becomes like a light to the world. 2. The worldly eye disappears. 3. The divine eye appears. 4. The blindness of ignorance is destroyed. 5. Knowledge of the world arises. 6. One quickly understands with wisdom what is wholesome and unwholesome. 7. There is no blind ignorance regarding the running on of samsara. 8. One has great wealth. 9. One is reborn in the heavens. 10. One quickly attains final nirvana. Panel 155. By giving lights one is reborn in heaven. A finely decorated temple with exquisite detail occupies the center of the panel. To the right, figures are shown approaching and presenting offerings of lights. Further to the left, the presence of the wish-fulfilling tree, kinnaras, and bags of money signifies the donor's rebirth in heaven. No inscriptions are present. Giving seats. What are the 10 advantages of giving seats? It is said, 1. One stands firmly in the world. 2. One is pleasant looking. 3. One is amiable. 4. One is visited by wise people. 5. One's fame and renown increase in the world. 6. One has much happiness and satisfaction. 7. One delights in his own country. 8. One has a sufficiency of seats. 9. One has a sufficiency of servants. 10. One has great wealth. 11. One is reborn in the heavens. 12. One quickly attains final nirvana. Panel 156. By giving seats one has great wealth. As noted by Crom and later Fontaine, this scene represents the giving of a seat. However, it appears more likely to depict the giving of vessels, a motif that has already been mentioned earlier. The outcomes depicted include, at the center, rebirth in a wealthy family accompanied by the customary symbols of prosperity. On the left, rebirth in heaven is suggested, though the imagery more closely resembles another portrayal of great wealth. Panel 157. By giving reverence, one has great wealth. The inscription translates to reverence. The scene depicted here shows reverence offered to a worthy figure, possibly a bodhisattva holding a flower. The result is illustrated in the center with the customary symbols of wealth, while the left side likely represents a heavenly realm, indicated by the presence of ladies playing stick zithers. Giving refuge. What are the 10 virtues of giving refuge? It is said, 1. One becomes king of the district. 2. One becomes king of the province. 3. One becomes king and lord of Jambudvipa. 4. One becomes king and lord of 2 continents. 5. One becomes king and lord of 3 continents. 6. 1 becomes king, lord and universal monarch of 4 continents. 7. 1 has great wealth. 8. 1 is reborn in the heavens. 9. 1 quickly attains final nirvana. Panel 158. By giving refuge 1 becomes a king. The refuge being offered here seems to take place within a temple, as indicated by the group of people gathered closely under the central structure. On the left side of this unfinished panel, the result depicted is kingship. The imagery closely resembles the numerous great wealth scenes previously observed, suggesting that the concepts of kingship and great wealth may have been perceived as closely related, or even interchangeable. Panel 159. A universal monarch. Another outcome of giving refuge is depicted in this penultimate panel, attaining the status of a universal monarch. On the far right, the elephant and horse jewels are displayed, while on the left, the wheel is shown with the woman jewel standing beside the monarch. Notably, the throne features a distinctive design, with a recess for the pendant leg, an element rarely observed elsewhere at Borobudur. The foot is elegantly positioned on a cushion. Going forth. What are the 10 virtues of going forth? It is said, 1. 1 doesn't crave for wealth, daughters, wife or sons. 2. 1 is not possessed by sensual pleasures. 3. 1 gains joy by living in the wilderness. 4. 1 associates with the way of the Buddha. 5. 1 avoids the way of fools. 6. 1 avoids things which lead to a bad rebirth. 7. 1 associates with things that lead to a good rebirth. 8. The devas envy him. 9. 1 always gains the going forth in the word of the fortunate one. Living in the wilderness. What are the 10 virtues of living in the wilderness? It is said, 1. 1 avoids society. 2. 1 associates with seclusion. 3. 1's mind achieves concentration. 4. 1 doesn't have a lot of work to be done. 5. 1 enters into mindfulness of the Buddhas. 6. 1 doesn't abandon bodily joy, happiness and satisfaction. 7. 1 has no obstacles. 8. 1 achieves concentration with agility in the spiritual life. 9. Every word and syllable 1 recites is remembered. 10. Just as 1 has heard, 1 knows every detail and the meaning of things. Living on alms food. What are the 10 virtues of living on alms food? It is said, 1. 1 has a walking path. 2. 1 pounds his resort. 3. 1's pride is lowered. 4. 1 urges oneself on with gains. 5. 1 establishes the merit of others. 6. 1 expounds the teacher's dispensation. 7. 1 makes the way shine forth for the next generation. 8. 1 does no harm to his fellows in the spiritual life. 9. 1 establishes humility in the mind. 10. The monk who has a mind set on alms is able to go in all directions without adversity. Panel 160. Going forth leads to rebirth in heaven. The final panel on the hidden base of Borobudur depicts 4 monks meditating in a secluded wilderness. Unusually, the cause seems to be illustrated on the left side of the panel. Though not specified in the Sanskrit text, the imagery clearly indicates rebirth in heaven, as evidenced by the presence of the wish-fulfilling tree and the kinnaras. On the far right, a figure is seated with 2 consorts, while attendants are once again shown lined up in service. The last paragraph in the text does not for once list causes and results but instead presents 10 confidences. While the 4 confidences of the Buddha are well known, the ones mentioned here pertain to monastics and seem to appear exclusively in this text. 10 confidences. There are 10 confidences. What are the 10? It is said, 1. 1 is confident when entering the village. 2. 1 is confident when leaving the village. 3. 1 is confident when making use of alms food. 4. 1 is confident when teaching Dharma in the assembly. 5. 1 is confident when entering into the midst of the Sangha. 6. 1 is confident when approaching his teacher and preceptor. 7. 1 is confident when teaching his students with loving kindness. 8. 1 is confident when making use of the requisites of robes, alms, food, dwellings and medicine for support when sick. 9. 1's speech is readily accepted. This concludes the section on wholesome deeds.